So, bluegrass ain't just for old white guys anymore.
No.
Well, how about pop music actually having a badass solo by the singer? How about that?
Yeah. And semi-acoustic. I always wondered as a little kid, like why don't they use upright bass in rock and roll? But I wasn't aware of the early 50s, even though I was born about then. Like in the 60s, I thought, why not an upright bass? Why not a violin? Why not some of
Because
these
they don't
things?
amplify well? Because they feed back like crazy?
At that point, you're right. That's exactly why. But still, it crossed my mind. So it's cool to hear an acoustic guitar in a pop song. And you can certainly hear her influence and how she kind of has her Tony Rice licks down. And that's not all she does. She's got her own sound, too,
Yeah, and here we got some drums and that pop production with layers of different instrumental stuff going on and ambient sounds and nothing so far we played has had any kind of in the studio built kind of thing. Now again, this is during a pandemic, so it might not have come about if the pandemic weren't here. Yeah, but I thought it was a real interesting entry. And also, it's exciting to have a young woman who can play guitar like this and hopefully will inspire other young girls out there to go, I want to do that, so that would be exciting.
Or I'm sure there's several thousand or tens of thousands, but they don't get any recognition or get an opportunity to get heard, right? And that's probably really what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's changing, though, and I think she's an example of that. And like you mentioned, some of the other, Sierra Hull is a whiz on the mandolin and really, really killing it with that whole thing she does. And Sarah Jaros, multi-instrumentalist, has got quite a lot of success as sings also, and so we're starting to see some good examples. And there's been women like Lori Lewis and who's the bass player that Molly Raines, right? And Missy Raines.
Yeah.
And also Gilchrist, the mandolin.
Oh, Sharon.
Sharon Gilchrist, who plays with Tony Rice and Peter Rowan, and so there's a lot of examples now out there.
And she's a bass player and a mandolin player.
That's right.
Weird breed.
That's right. Yeah.
her, me, and John Paul Jones.
That's right. And organ. Yeah, you got to add organ there.
That's right. Yeah.
That's great.
But it's a weird combo. I've met 2 or 3 other people that bass or mandolin. I guess we like to stick to 4 strings. We can't handle more
That's
than that.
right. Now, how many?
Believe it or not, I have an understudy who plays electric bass and tenor saxophone.
I was just about to ask.
I don't get that.
That's a weird combo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm a bass player who plays sax. He's a sax player who plays bass. So it's a little.
That's how.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little more feasible.
All right. So we were talking earlier about who's pushing the boundaries of bluegrass and bluegrass guitar, and is there anybody out there who's taking it to new space? And there's another young player kind of out of the Boston Berkeley scene, a guy named Stash Weisslouch. And I originally discovered Stash through a guitar player that's around here in Marin, Lee Dines, I think. And
I know that name.
He kind of crosses over, plays some bluegrass, and is a jazz guitarist. I think he went to Berkeley, and I don't know, Facebook friends, and he mentioned. I said, "Who's this guy?" And I checked him out, and I was like, "Oh my God, this guy is something else." And the first thing I saw was his interpretation of Turkey in the Straw that he calls the 12-tone Turkey in the Straw. And if you haven't seen it, you go to YouTube, Google it, or type in the search, and you can see that he's got a bit of the Zappa kind of zaniness to his approach with his writing and his persona, and that he's kind of pushing it, and he describes being very influenced by heavy metal. But also his mother, I think, is Colombian. And there's also a song he just does out of nowhere that's this great song where he's singing in Spanish and has that whole flair to it. So he's an interesting personality. And so we're going to play a tune here with his other hotshot pals from Berkeley School of Music. And I believe the drummer is the son of banjo player Tony Trischka, who we heard on that Third Stone from the Sun cut earlier.
Cool.
And so a little family lineage there with the music. So let's check out Soul Crusher by Stash Weisslouch.